Hello and welcome to another episode of the Farr Show, where I am Damien Farr, and tonight we're talking about Talladega Nights, the Ballad of Ricky Bobby. This movie is pretty good. I gotta say that. This was one of my favorite movies growing up as a kid. It's a terrible movie in technical terms. It's not great, but it still sticks with me for the fact of the matter that, well, Will Ferrell does amazing, and John C. Reilly also does amazing. They're both good in their roles as Ricky Bobby and Cal Nelson Jr. So, before we get too into this movie is pretty much a parody of NASCAR, and I'd give it an FA. There's a part of me that dwindles on giving it an FAR. I used to own it on DVD and liked it for the most part. And rewatching it, the movie still is good, but I don't think it holds up as well as it could, to be honest. So, this is the first of 3 times that Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly worked together. This is the first time. The second time was Step Brothers, which I'm going to talk about actually next week, because I don't think there's anything coming out this week. So, talking about that. And then finally, really, the worst of the 3, Holmes and Watson, which I have yet to see, but I've heard is terrible. So, we're not going to talk about that one, but we're going to talk about Step Brothers next Wednesday. So, Sacha Baron Cohen is Jean Girard. He's an F1 driver who requires a challenge. He pretty much has yet to lose, really. So he decides, I'm going to join NASCAR because Ricky Bobby can bring me a challenge. And then, for lack of better terms, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the movie, I'm going to be spoiling a little bit more here. So Ricky crashes his car and gets kind of PTSD where he doesn't want to drive anymore. And he always is afraid. And pretty much, it's about a man getting over his fears. But really, at the same time, there's so much odd comedy in this movie. Like, it's so weird. He becomes a pizza delivery man. Going from a NASCAR driver to a pizza delivery man seems like a step down. But he rides his bike to deliver pizzas. So I thought that was always funny. His wife ends up leaving him for his best friend, Cal Nelson, which is played by John C. Reilly. I loved their dynamic at the beginning of the movie where they were winning. Ricky Bobby drove the Wonder Bread car and Cal Nelson drove the Old Spice car, and I like Old Spice, so I like that. Then, Susan, Ricky Bobby's former assistant, played by Amy Adams, which, dang, this cast is really good. I gotta give them that at least. Is talking him to get back into racing, and they start falling in love with each other, because that's how every movie goes. You gotta fall in love with somebody, so I guess this is his love interest, which Amy Adams is not a bad choice, being honest, all. And then his dad trains him by blindfolding him and putting him in with a cougar in a car, so he learns to drive with the cougar and the fear of driving with the cougar. It's a really weird concept, but I guess it works, because you've nothing to fear but the cougar then. So, if you're worried about the driving, be more worried about the cougar that's going to eat you alive. Though if you get in a car accident, maybe you and the cougar die too. So I don't know. I don't know how that would work exactly. So, eventually, Ricky Bobby comes back, and he comes back with the car that has a Me paint job, and it has a cougar on it because they couldn't get a sponsorship. I wonder why they picked 62, to be honest. I wonder what the reason is for why they picked 62. I feel like 69 would have been funny, especially when this was before, all the jokes of middle school for me started with 69. So, maybe that would have worked great. And then he wins the race and sets Jean Girard free, which is a really weird way to think about it, especially when the whole field of cars crashes, gets in a huge wreck, and it's just those 2 left, and they finish the race where they crash, and then they run to the finish line, and Ricky Bobby wins, which they say in the movie is no way gonna count, but it was interesting, and I'm like, huh, they really wanted to win that badly that they ran to the finish line, and then he dove onto concrete to get the win. That's dedication right there. And another thing I never understood, this is maybe just me, why is it Talladega Nights? Why can't it be like Charlotte Nights or Bristol Nights or something else? Maybe Talladega was the only one they could get the rights to? I don't know exactly. But the movie overall is good. Like I said, I'm on the fence of FA, FAR. I think it's an FA easily, because when you compare it to other Will Ferrell movies, There's some better, there's a lot worse though at the same time, and there's a lot in the same category. So I feel like an FA is a pretty reasonable rank there. So what do you think of Talladega Nights? Do you think it was a great movie? Do you think it's hilarious? I think it's funny for the most part. I like the shake and bake thing where they fist bump and go shake and bake, because I don't know why I'm weird like that. But overall, I think the movie was good. It's definitely worth a watch. Maybe a rent, at least. If you have not seen it, what are you doing? You live under a rock, or... Not Dwayne, but you live under a rock? So, tell me in the comments below, what do you think about it? Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and have a far off night.